especially Banga, Stanley Bangura, who we are hoping that this meeting will have taken place in Makeni. But for some circumstances, it did not happen. So we hope the ministry will make some efforts to ensure that this meeting goes round across the regions from Makeni and also Kenema, so that we cover the whole region. SLAG has enjoyed very good relationship with the Ministry of Information and Communications and government in general. We're happy to report that with the Minister of Information, Rado Sware, Ahmed Rahman Sware, we have cooperated and we have achieved so many things for the media. One was the repeal of criminal libel law, which we thought was one of the biggest achievements for us as media practitioners and also for civil society and citizens. We've also cooperated in the area of ensuring that we have a cybercrime that is well balanced and that also seeks to protect not only our cyberspace, but also promote responsible use of social media, and that's a very important space. We've also cooperated in other areas for SLAG to lift the capacity of SLAG as an independent association. We now getting subventions from the government annually, although for this year we are yet to receive subvention. Now it's November. So we are appealing to the Ministry of Finance because we have done all the paperwork and we is now with the Ministry of Finance to facilitate that aspect of their manifesto. And we also working towards getting the land for SLAG, land for perhaps a government building that will be suitable for us so that we can stop, we can move away from the trouble of paying annual rent, which is very, very, very challenging for us as an association. And so, indeed, it is very good for us to come here and to listen to you as you give updates on your achievement as a government or as ministers. But again, it's also good for you to understand what we do as media. Because from here, when you go back to your different places, many of you will not pick our calls. So here is when you want to talk to us. We're here, we are here to listen to you. But when we want to talk to you, it's somehow very difficult. And that is something we need to address as a minister, and so other ministers as well. I've heard ministers say sometimes when journalists call them, it is for money and harassment, that sort of thing. Yes, to some extent that can be true, but I'm not sure that is not always the case. Sometimes there are good journalists out there who want to protect stories and who want to attribute stories and who want to get goods from the ministers or from those in charge, the MDAs, and responding to their calls or their text messages will do a lot of good for you, but you don't know what the story will be about. Maybe that story will come out to be a promotion for your agency, for your ministry. Also, it might end up with you with a good life. And so, like I said, you have to understand our context of the way we operate as media, especially during this pandemic. We've seen government intervention in other sectors, but we have not seen any intervention in the area of the media. They think that we as journalists, we are fine. But the reality is that we are not. 10 to 15 years ago, the price of rice, the bag of rice, is different from the price now. We used to buy rice starting to 50,000. Even now it's 500,000. And we journalists, we also have families. Well, 10 to 15 years, the rent we pay for our offices is about $2,000 to $3,000. And during that time, that amounts to about $3,500,000. Now that same $3,000 of 35 is about 25 to 35. It's very difficult for us. And the material for the print media, things that they use to produce the newspapers, the ink, 10 to 15 years ago, it was 20,000. Now it's 120,000. The paper, the newspaper, it used to be 12,000 per reel. Now it's 120,000. You see that things have changed. Now we have community radio stations as well. I'm coming to that, don't worry. I'm coming to that, don't worry. But the radio stations as well. Now we have many community organizations. They overhead costs. Some are not being sustained by communities because they are supposed to be owned by the community and costs come from the stakeholders. And so we see government going around and giving some help in terms of the community organizations. And we thought that SLIDE was not involved. SLIDE was not involved in the process. So we thought that government could use SLIDE as the vehicle to be all these goodies for the communities so that they become non-political in the eyes of the public. And yes, you're talking about our main source of revenue, our lifeblood, that is advertising. 10 to 15 years ago, when we changed the price to what it is now, it has not changed. In spite of all these increases in the price is still the same. 800,000 a black and white on page 1,600,000 for color page. So nothing has changed. Cover price still 2,000. They have not increased the prices, they have not increased any prices. And so you see, we are making a lot of sacrifices. And we want government to understand this. So how can the media survive? How can journalism survive? How can we not get beggars in the profession? These are some of the key issues that are affecting us. And we see the offices give an advertisement to the newspapers. Sometimes you don't pay for them for 5 months because you have not received your allocation from the Minister of Finance. That's why you tell us. So it's hurting our business. And when you pay, eventually, there are people in your office as well that will call us again for their commission. What are we left But overall, we are very happy that we have this kind of conversations and we can have this kind of relationship with the media. Sometimes the other will call me after all the victories we've got, and then next thing you see the headlines in newspapers. Not very encouraging. So you see, you see what I like about today. Don't ignore it. That is freedom. That is what we do. No matter what good you do, the media will always critique, always criticize. Because it's our job to do so. And it is the right thing to do. We don't hail governments. When you hail them, then you're not putting them on their toes. This is when you do great things. There is room for improvement. That's not our job. So we want you to understand this. Finally, let me just make mention of the Right to Access Information Commission and the IMC. We appeal to you, Mr. Minister. We want these institutions because they are very crucial to the operations of the media. We want you to empower these institutions. Let them receive their allocations in a timely fashion. Because the Right to Access Information, if we put this into practice and implemented well, then every ministry will be proactive in the disclosure of information. It will be free flow of information. We'll move away from the culture of secrecy, of open government, open way of doing business for the government. So there will be no need for speculation in the media, for creating all this kind of conspiracy theories around issues. Because we just reach out, get the information within the time frame that is sensitive. So we want to appeal to the government, to the ministry, to ensure that these institutions work and they are efficient and effective so that they will work with the media. Because for democracy to succeed, we need to have independent and professional media. And we all have to work together, not just like government as well, to support initiatives to ensure that our members become very professional and ethical in the conduct of their operation. So on that note, we want to wish this program success and that we continue to cooperate with the government and with the ministry to achieve more things, not only for the media, for the people of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the President of SLAJ. Thank you for alerting us to a range of things, and also I will use the opportunity to also urge our colleagues. I think it's important. Access to government officials is very important, because if we're talking about government's commitment to updating the people through the role of civil society and the media, it's important that we always make ourselves accessible. Thank you for also alerting us to the economic realities. I was going through the budget, and I see, for example, global economy projected to grow at 5.9 and then moderate to 4.9 in 2022. China's economy at 8.0 and then moderate to 5.2. And Africa's economy projected at 3.7 and then to slightly grow at 3.8 in 2022. So I'm sure all of those discussions in the course of the presentations, especially for those who fall within the cluster on economic diversification and economic competitiveness, and also prudent management of finances of Sierra Leone would speak to some of those issues and establish for us a correlation with the realities that we have on the ground. Disruptions in global supply chain, climate change, and all of those challenges relating to disaster. I'm sure with all of those presentations, we should be able to make sense of what we have and what we hope to see in the immediate, short term, and long term. I would like to call on, so thank you again, President of SLAG, Mr. Nasrallah. I would like to call on the resident minister, South, also make his own short statement. President Minister? Not here. So it gives me pleasure to call on the Executive Director, Institute for Governance Reform. He's not a disc jockey, but I call him DJ Lava. Mr. Lava.
Thank you very much. Chairman, Minister, Honorable Chief Minister, Minister, Government, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
I think it's proper for me to join the chairman of the council to welcome me in Igbo. Just for those of you that are privileged to go to Christ the King College, just last week we were here for our reunion. It was quite a great caliber. So before I say those things that are really important for this occasion, permit me to pay tribute to the growth Sierra Leone has made over the past, well, like you said, 20, 30 years of my own life. When you look at during the war, we had a president that used to say, let them sing as long as they don't go to bush. And he was succeeded by another president. I remember, and we as Nigerians, we made several forceful arguments against the APC then. But there was never a time that I had a sudden knock at my door at night. And he was succeeded by President Bio, who said, we are opening up freedom. So the seditious libel law was passed, was repealed, and then we have greater freedom. And too often, because we judge us so much, we fail to celebrate how far we've come as a country. For me, from the point of view of civil society, I'm here to say thank you, government, thank you, the media, and thank you, actors. So we have been tracking what we call the biometer. And we want to believe, when I see Minister John Keller, he was the first to launch the biometer at the British Council at the time. I think that's the very first time for us to have civil society organizing itself to track electoral promises made. In the biometer, we tracked all the promises of the four leading candidates at the time. Sam Sumana, President Bio, Young Keller, candidate Young Keller at the time, and then Samora Kamara. Luckily, coincidentally, President Bio, luckily for him, he won the elections. So it will have been any other meter. It will have been the Samo meter. It will have been the KKY meter, but it happened to be the Bio meter. The Bio meter had 556 promises. 566 promises. And so, there is always a difference between when a politician makes a promise and what citizens expect of that promise. So when a politician makes a promise, he will say, I will initiate this process. For citizens, that is not a promise. What they want is that process going to translate into food on my table. So there has been several controversies in tracking. What are you calling the biometer? Is it the number of promises actually fulfilled technically? Or is it how is that translating to citizens' expectation on the ground? But in any way, we've realized that the progress has been made, and I think I will always continue to pay tribute to that. Just some time ago, we had a civil society parliamentary joint communique, which actually shows the relationship, the constructive relationship between citizens and the pre-core function of parliament. For me, my colleague Mom kept talking about, what does the media expect of government. I will say there are many things we've done with previous administration and the current administration that is worth sharing across Africa. I think this is the first time we happen to work with DFID and the Ministry of Finance to do public expenditure tracking for health, education, and agriculture. For the first time, we actually had a civil society organization going into government bureaucracy, government machinery, accessing sensitive financial documents. I remember at that time, there are many, permanent secretaries that were so reluctant. I can't give you the data. But we said the government, I think it was the finance minister, JJ at the time, JJ Sapa at the time. In a letter we wrote to him, we said, benchmarking this administration is a commitment of your government. Can we benchmark public financial management? And thankfully, he agreed. So the product of that PET, after going through several iterations, became a conversation for cabinet, and some of the recommendations were adopted. So this brings me to an important point of how civil society works and what do we celebrate. So when civil society works, is it the number of radio announcements you make, or the number of policy shifts you make? Is it the number of radio publications you make, or the institutional change you bring? Sometimes I ask myself, there are certain things I will never achieve if I just sit on radio and television and saying things about government. So my colleague in civil society, we have to engage. You have to engage and engage and engage. In fact, going on radio sometimes for me is the last resort when all points of engagement have been exhausted. So you see, there are many times, and we have colleagues here, they see me and they turn the other way when certain reports are being published, and they see me at times and they smile when certain reports are being published. That's the rule of the game.
So in the end, it's really about what we want to achieve. In the end, it's about what we want to achieve. So today, we can say, for example, the biggest, we haven't done numbers on the 556 promises. What has been achieved, what has not been achieved. But what I will say, before even going to those issues in a bit, I would just want to permit Mr. Chair to just do a simple poll. I want to ask a question. If you are convinced about it, just raise your hand. How many of you believe that there should be a law governing social media? How many of you believe that there should be a law that governs social media? Okay, put your hands down. How many of you believe that there should not be a law governing social media? I'm seeing 1, 2 hands. So 3. So basically, it may be safe to say that 90% of this gathering believe that there should be a law governing social media. Imagine you publish that. Imagine you publish, say, 90% of the journalists in Bo believe that there should be a law governing social media. There will be contestations. So in fact, we are advised by that. See, certain times, it's not always the case that perceptions should run the biometer. You need to look at actual delivery on the ground. So that the first iterations and the second iteration, upon going to the third iteration of the biometer, we decided to do what we call validation from government. So we actually developed a questionnaire. We have government office, for example, the Ministry of Agriculture. Vividly, I can recall there are 33 promises made for the Ministry of Agriculture. So we sent it to your predecessor. Say, can you tell us how many of these promises have been achieved? And we had a panel of 85 citizens, experts. Some of them are here, some in civil society, some in the media. They actually scored So there was a shadow scoring by government, and there was an expert scoring, and then there was a citizen scoring. For citizens, they were just concerned about, am I getting electricity? They are not concerned about what does it take to get electricity. How long does it take to get electricity? Or am I getting electricity? Is there food on my table? So to me, I want us to look as a way of closing. I am not going to take any position as to whether promises have been achieved or not. But we just need to guide ourselves that in assessing promises, you look at level of effort. In fact, when we are doing the assessment, we said, has that promise, the effort to that promise, has it been initiated? Has it been accomplished? Is it fully accomplished? Is it done and dusted? And so that's what I would like to admonish civil society and the media when we listen to all of the presentations. Listen to the presentation with an eye on the promises and the citizens' expectation. I know what it means to speak a lot, and I know what it means from my experience in making speeches. I know really when to shut up and sit down, and that's what I'm seeing on your faces. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Very nice.
Did you actually ask Andrew to sit down?
Oh, no.
No, not at all.
All right. Okay. You know, when Andrew was talking about civil society, and it's important, we've heard from the Sludge president, the media's point of view, and now civil society. I have a friend who finds it difficult why we call civil society civil society. As far as he's concerned, they are not civil. He said, you invite a civil society guy to radio, he will start by, thank you for inviting me to this program. And after 10 seconds, it's changed. It reminds me of a guy who contested to be president at Frobe College for Frobe College Student Union. And the supporters said to him, look, the two they are in a campus, they say, you are too militant. The way they talk, you're too militant. If you really have to emerge victorious, you have to forget about that. And when you're speaking, be careful, your gesticulation and all of that. And they groomed that guy for 24 hours. And everybody was like, but there was this guy who said, una just stay wasting your time as I this man. They will come and call the promise, now wait someone when they get on the mic. And the D-Day came. And he presented his manifesto. And they asked him the question. So, Mr. Candidate, just in case you issue an ultimatum to government and nothing happens, what will you do? The guy who was very pessimistic, he knew this guy was going to misbehave. And then he said, what will you do if you give government an ultimatum and nothing happens? And then this guy with the long groom, make the government ultimatum, I will demonstrate peacefully. That was how that guy lost the election, just by demonstrating peacefully. So this is what peacefully means? Well, I think we have another meaning. So, I would like to call on the UN resident coordinator or a representative, if he or she is here. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, it gives me pleasure to bring on the distinguished Minister of Information and Communications, Honorable Mohammed Ramanswari, to give us the purpose of the review meeting. Mr. Minister.
Chief Minister, colleagues on the high table, distinguished ministers here present, my constituency, the media, civil society, leaders here, good morning. I'm very excited to see all of you here, particularly in the midst of many things happening across the country right now, today and this weekend. But this is a clear, loud testimony that indeed we value the discussions that will be unfolding here in the next 2 days. I want to thank all of you for prioritizing this agenda. Like I've said to my team, this was meant to have been in McKinney. So Monk, you and I are together in this. We sent invites out. We had negotiated hotels, just like we did here. Last minute, we had challenges. Last minute, we had challenges. We have actually done everything. My permanent secretary would have been very happy, amongst others, to host this hotel, this meeting in McKinney. But for some very, very strange reason that emerged at the 11th hour of the 9th minute, that is why we had to change venue. For those of you who have had your invites earlier, for those of you who had earlier invites, it was clearly McKinney. But you know, that is all water on that bridge. When I talked about getting annual retreats, the whole idea was to have it, to give it a national outlook. Who wouldn't have loved to take this to BT, for example? Yeah, BT might be small, but it has contributed a lot to national development. Or Foindu, yeah, I come from Kenema, I would have loved Kenema to host it, but it so happened that at the 11th hour of the 9th minute, we did not have a lot of maneuvering loop, so fell back on the same Bo end. You know, I know Bo is quite welcoming, Bo is great, but you are here to taste the hospitality of Kenema too, or McKinney.
Sure.
Right? McKinney is a very interesting place to be. Just returning from Comm in the last few days. Everybody came back that night. I still found some time to rest and touch base with my friends there. So it's a place I would love to be any day. So for Stanley and others, let us understand this is not government policy to ensure that McKinney and Kenema are left out or Poloko. We have had other occasions in all these places. You know, I'm the information minister who has definitely transversed this nation, gone to more radio stations, gone to more television stations than any since Sierra Leone was founded. But don't tell anybody that, it's a secret. So, I've listened to Monk. My colleagues, you know, have given me to you, to civil society and to the media so that I can continue to interact. And I'm sure nobody here will tell you they have not been able to access the Minister of Information and Communications. If there are any people here who have had legitimate reasons to see me, who have not been able to see me, just put up your hands from Freetown to any place I've been. So, CM, you should hear this. So, President Bill has given me as his gift to be the gatekeeper. But that is not to say my colleagues must continue to stonewall talking to the media. I also want to encourage them where there are legitimate reasons to talk to the media. We should do that. They are partners in progress. When His Excellency President Bill repeated last year, there were a lot of doomsday prophets, a lot of naysayers. You know, but like Sludge has already said, over 1 year now, the heavens have not fallen. Armageddon has not broken loose. So we are still here. They still continue to write about us. But life goes on. Following the repeal, somebody wrote to me, a journalist sent me a text. Mr. Minister, I want you to come and talk about this because there's now the repeal, so we should have access to information. I said, okay, I thought we were talking about right to access information, not the repeal really. The repeal is to decriminalize what you do professionally. Anyway, so let me share this very good news with you. You might have heard that His Excellency President Bill just a few days ago, signed the Global Pledge for Media Freedom. The world is impressed by what we have done here, the repeal, and the other practical steps we have taken on the ground. I'm sure if you do a per capita analysis, we have more newspapers here, population per capita and what have you, than in the United States. We have in excess of 130 registered newspapers, 150 community radio stations, and a lot of TV stations, some of them DTH. Yeah. So this is the kind of situation we have. And With the Global Media Freedom Coalition, there have been a lot of back and forth. Sarah Lee was nominated. There was a silent procedure over 1 month. They passed our membership over to all the other members. Nobody came to contest our credentials for media freedom. So that was how His Excellency was asked to sign the Global Pledge. So Sierra Leone is the 5th country out of 50 around the world that have so acceded to the Global Media Freedom Coalition. So we should all thank ourselves and try our abiding unrelenting political will on the part of His Excellency. I know a lot of us were very unkind to him in his long walk to the presidency. He became the most lampooned, the most ridiculed, the most castigated. Everything was literally thrown at him. So he was the most unlikely to have led a repeal project. But he called me and read the right act to me. So look, I know there are concerns, there are reservations everywhere, including the cabinet room, but we have to soldier on. So that was how I left an international conference this was in Budapest, flew in the early hours of the morning, attended cabinet to push this through. So His Excellency's political will has been unrivaled, unrelenting. And in the cabinet room, I've also been very lucky to have people who have always stood by me. I give this to the Honorable Chief Minister when he was Minister of Finance. So one day, when the repeal cabinet paper was thrown out, so I prayed. He was not in cabinet then. He's not a superpower, but he has his way around the cabinet room as well. So I prayed he's present at the next sitting where the repeal cabinet paper will come in. So that day, luckily, he was there. We had done a lot of massaging. Dr. Willie and others, you had given them the carrot and stick. I told him, look, you are analog. This is a digital business, so you have to stay out of it. So it was actually, a lot of stuff. So we got here. I want to be grateful to all of my colleagues for that. So we also talking about a situation where a couple of days ago, sometimes, I'm very tolerant. Sometimes I can also get to really. Somebody sent me a text. So look, one of the people he sent as a journalist, I said you can go ahead and publish it in all the newspapers. Yes, publish it. So this is how mundane things can get there. So what about that meant? Anyway, so this is a profession that prides as one of the hallmarks. But listening to Chimamanda, the Nigerian blockbuster novelist who has shot to the world stage, she is very clear about a few things. There are some things that you cannot be objective about. Things like the sun rises in the east. How else do you put? You want to be objective. Things like the fact that President Bill is being the most reform-minded president in the living history of Sierra Leone. Look at the kind of repeals, look at the kind of progressive legislations we have enacted. You cannot be objective about that even if you don't want to give him the credit. It's like the sun rises in the east. Let's see how we will get around that fact. How can journalists be objective reporting that? You can't. So, as we gather here today, it's important to tell you where all of this gospel or this retreat and all of these things came from. As a young man back then, when I was a young man, because in a country where life expectancy is around 40, what is it now? 42? Yes, so don't worry, you may be ahead of, but we're all in this business now together. After 50 years, Slide and I are age mates. Yeah, Slide beat me by a whisker. It's 3 days or so for it. And so while at the airport authority, that was where I started this whole idea of a retreat. I found it by the time I took over as head of PR and HR, you have a terribly frosty relationship between the airport, then the community, and the media. So one of my first orders of business was to try to build a relationship and make it more decorous so that we are seen in a good light by our community. So I started bringing this annual retreats together with the community, with the media. And it succeeded. There are many, many stories. You go to Lunge, they'll tell you about my tenure there. So I brought this idea here. After last year, we sat back and from the reviews from media, society, and even the community, I said, wow, so this is an idea that must not die while we are still here. So that is why we bumped it to another notch. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm repeating for making long speeches. Today, I'm going to wrap up so I make it as short as a minister. Right? No, it's usual very short, but covers all the essential parts. Right? That is what it is. So, okay, so the CM tells me he's going to hurry to other engagements. I mean, he's coming here, it's really massive commitment to public service, more particularly to the Ministry of Information, to have honored this meeting here. He's supposed to be with His Excellency in Moyamba today. His chauffeur is wedding today, so after here he's attending all of those things. So I will be I'll try to wrap up now. So distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I want to challenge you. I will leave all the preconceived notions out the door. We'll listen very keenly. What we have here today, this is a secret. It's close to one of the closest to a cabinet meeting. Many of my colleagues are here. But this cabinet meeting is not under my watch, lest I get into trouble. It's under the watch of the Honorable Chief Minister. I want to challenge you. Ask the tough right questions. But when we leave here, let us report it as it ought to be reported. Like I said, you cannot be objective about the truth. The truth is the truth. Like Amasi will say, truth no get surname. Yeah? Now the truth no more you go for color. Enjoy your stay in Bo. The mayor has already given you the key. He says amendable means it's yours for the ticket. But COVID is still here. As you enjoy, spare a thought. We don't want whatever variant or variety here. Right? But McKinney is very soundly represented here. Kenema is very well represented here. Every part of this country is in this room. So ministers, you are getting for nothing what you could have spent a lot of money to get. So you'll be on radio Bath, you'll be on radio Mansoro, you'll be on radio everywhere. The newspapers, some of them might metamorphose into center spreads for all you hear. So it's also a business opportunity. There have been a lot of achievements by this government. Some of them unreported, right? Through no failure of the Ministry of Information. It's simply that we are overwhelmed by the successes to an extent that, the team we have cannot literally be everywhere. So which is why we call this annual pilgrimage here so that we can talk about these issues. On that note, I thank you very much. Enjoy Bo. Let us pay attentive and let us not lose the opportunity to ask the tough right questions and report it as it ought to be reported. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Odiona Platform Minister Dia. Thank you very much. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for that very good precursor to what is about to happen. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, until his current assignment, he was the minister in charge of our finances, and during which, I'm sure, one of the critical highlights of his administration was he was able to rekindle the trust of international and development partners after a relationship we had consummated had gone defunct. He prioritized domestic revenue mobilization and also prudent management of our economy. He was also in the thick and thin of the preparation of the manifesto that saw the materialization of the Bio presidency, a manifesto informed by the realities on the ground. He was also very instrumental in that. He is today's Today, our Chief Minister, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, pray silence, the Honorable Chief Minister Jacob Jususepa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister, Chairman for this event, Honorable Minister of Information and Communications, colleague cabinet ministers and deputy ministers here, the Chairman of Board District Council, Honorable members of Parliament, if any, members of the Great Fourth Estate, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. I arrived here at around 1:30 this morning. I'm leaving immediately after this statement to Moyamba. From Moyamba, I get back to Freetown and return tomorrow to Kairan. The Chief Minister, a very active politician, you know. There's a youth conference taking place now in Moyamba and the women's conference in Kairan tomorrow. I have to be there. But deciding to come here means quite a lot to me. I just cannot meet such a platform. And I'm really encouraged by the fact that colleague ministers who have wanted to be in Moyamba also decided to come here. As the Minister of Information said, it is really a cheap way of selling yourself. So we encourage you to take many interviews as you could. You have community radios who want your voice. They will play it for the next 1 week. And I know when community radio guys, they are so eager to interview big guys, and they always do it very quietly. What can I call talk? I want to interview you. Just go there and listen to him. He interviews you, he plays it for 1 month on his radio because the people would like to see you. So please make use of that opportunity. See if we can run 2 or 3 interviews with community radios, particularly before you leave here. For Freetown radios, community radios, you can easily access them, but the provincial community radios are the ones you need to pay attention to. The bulk of the population is rural in this country, so the further you reach them, the better it is. I'm not going to talk off scripts initially. I will go to the scripts right away. Mr. Chairman, I'm gratified to be in this gathering, which is made possible through the invites from the Ministry of Information and Communication. This is an event the New Direction Administration of His Excellency the President, retired Brigadier Dr. Julius Madabio, places very high premium on. The recognition of this annual event is based on the fact that it creates an opportunity for the government to present its performance records to the citizens through engagement with the Fourth Estate, the media. In addition, at this event, a platform is readily created for government to hear from and receive feedback from the media practitioners and houses that are in attendance. This is truly a platform for information sharing, since the giving and receiving of feedback is critical for informing the setting up of national development and government agenda of any country. Mr. Chair, Honorable Minister of Information, ladies and gentlemen, governance in the 21st century and hopefully beyond is rooted in inclusivity, participation, partnership, transparency, and accountability. This gathering today and in the next few days must be applauded as it creates the opportunity for the government to not only pitch these ideas, but to demonstrate them in practical terms. This platform will ensure that the media is brought into operational partnership with the government through the voluntary process of self-reporting and seeking feedback. This government is really placing itself in the public domain for scrutiny and assessment. It is my expectation that such an opportunity accorded the media through such an annual retreat will be used for the intended purposes of being open to receive performance of and making objective, realistic, and reasonable inputs to improve upon that, as well as build upon successes that will be reported. As the Honorable Chief Minister of the Republic of Sierra Leone, I'm charged by His Excellency with the mandate of facilitating tracking, coordinating, and following up on delivery of other MDA mandates and presidential decisions and pronouncements. This mandate is executed mostly through monitoring, tracking the implementation of sector policies, plans, and annual work programs, providing political and technical support to the presidency on national and global issues, providing technical backstopping to MDAs in diverse areas, including but not limited to policy reformulation, legal reforms, project conceptualization, resource mobilization, supervising the department and agency and communicate the president's vision and activities across government, partners, CNM public and partners. This, in essence, means the Chief Minister serves as a critical and daunting task of ensuring the programmatic and operational efficiency of the government, working through MDAs, SOEs, state-owned enterprises, local councils, and local councils. Mr. Chair, ladies and gentlemen, commencing today and over the next 2 days, you have the opportunity to listen to the presentation from MDAs, who are the frontline service delivery agencies and agents of government. As you may be aware, the guiding framework for government operation and execution of the mandate is bestowed upon it by the electorate in 2018 at the manifesto of the ruling SLPP, the New Direction, People's Manifesto, which was further elaborated in the Sierra Leone's Medium-Term National Development Plan 2018 to 2023. The New Direction has prioritized human capital with close emphasis on key human development sectors of education, agriculture, with cross-cutting focus on social welfare, protection issues, gender, and infrastructure. Through the human capital development lens, this administration hopes to increase the proportion of trained and qualified human resources and to stimulate the growth and sustainable development of Sierra Leone, nurture a healthy and agile national population, promote infrastructural development to underpin national development, grow and diversify the economy, and reduce vulnerability. In sector presentations that you will receive from the MDAs, you can be assured of being provided with much greater details of planned activities versus actual deliverables and future proposals for taking the sectors forward. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, in the 3.5 years that is within the focus of the feedback for MDAs, the new director administration of this government, the President has made meaningful and substantial gains in almost all the critical sectors. This administration, living to its key manifesto promise of efficient state management, has been prioritized, taking bold and progressive actions in the governance subsector, which as government will believe provide a superstructure on which most of the development priorities can be anchored. In that direction, there has been effort towards promoting an open and transparent society, leading to repeal of the obnoxious libel law, reviewing of the IMC Act, and introducing standing government CSO interface dialogue platforms, of which 2 sessions have already been convened in partnership with key CSOs in the country. In ensuring that space is open up for meaningful and sustainable gender empowerment agenda, this administration has formulated and approved in cabinet a comprehensive gender empowerment policy and a draft bill leading to the legislation. Draft bill and currently awaiting legislation. The youth being the engine of growth and nucleus of human capital development have received much needed attention, leading to the reformulation of the new national youth policy that has received cabinet approval. There's a strong youth empowerment scheme with huge emphasis on education at all levels, as can be witnessed with the strength of textbook education and the establishment of student loan scheme. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, there are very bold and determined actions already taken by this administration over the last 3.5 years. The pace and speed of such actions could only be made possible through the willingness and foresight of a visionary state leadership, and that is what Sierra Leone has been blessed with, the person of His Excellency the President, Dr. Julius Madabio. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, please kindly permit me to focus on the state-media relationship. In modern governance, the state cannot efficiently function if, among a host of considerations, the critical element of positive and collaborative partnership is not formed between the government and the media. The government is formed on the basis of social contract between it and the electors, and it is therefore essential that the priorities of the citizens drive the governance and development agenda. In state management, there are both foreseen and unforeseen situations that often requires citizens' education, and this can be done through partnership between the government and the media. The media often uses the phrase to inform, educate, and entertain. It will therefore be right to consider it as a paramount duty for the media to at all times inform and educate. The question I would like to pose will be, does the Sierra Leone press indeed inform and educate the citizens? If it does, how often is it done? And if done regularly, what is the content and manner of informing and educating? These are the critical questions that I would like the media practitioners and establishments here present to reflect upon as they seek to discharge their mandates going forward. I'm of a firm conviction that informing and educating without bias, prejudice, based on research facts, will go a long way towards promoting national peace, cohesion, and ultimately fulfilling His Excellency's national vision of a united, peaceful, progressive, and happy nation where people have access to jobs, food, education, health service, and there is equal justice and equal opportunity for all. The challenge going forward will be how committed will the media be to ensure that it is rational, objective, fair, and credible in its execution of its mandate of informing, educating, and even entertaining. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to assure you all, and especially our media colleagues, that the new direction administration remains open to partner with them in driving the development agenda. And to do that, I will again continue to extend His Excellency's invitation to you as partners to play your part so that together we can build a healthy, strong, resilient, and developed Sierra Leone. On behalf of the new direction, administration, and government, and please kindly permit me to now officially declare these 3 days in fact formally open, while wishing you all fruitful and responsible deliberation. Thank you. Now let me take one opportunity, Mr. Chair, to talk off script. One is a response and advice to the President of SLAD about supporting the media. I think it's going to be a great mistake if we think the public sector is going to support. It's going to support financing the media. That would be a big mistake. To rely on subvention is not the best way out for you. You have to be innovative, you have to be creative. And one of the things we've envisaged when the argument we put forward when we wanted to repeal the Citizens Libel law was that the law may hinder investment in the sector. To which extent have we come together, maybe with support of government, to bring the private sector to think that the media is an area to invest in? We need to move the agenda a little bit aggressively. We need a major private sector investment forum platform for media development. We need to probably see how the media themselves can sell the business model of investing in the media to the public. What an investor wants to see is that if I put $200,000 in the media, this is what I will get over this period of time. But investors have not seen that. But he knows if he goes for a sizable contract, he knows what he's going to get. So he decides to put his money there. So maybe we need some strategy how to bring our investors to the media to see how they can invest in it. But that's one advice. I very much look forward to working with you on that. Again, on Mr. Lavali, this is a listening government. When you have very reasonable people in government, I must say that. And some of them you know, some of them you've challenged, some of them you have challenged you several times. When good things are done, when good things are said, we bring it right in cabinet and discuss them. When you did the PET report, you discovered one of the findings was leakages that, particularly with the case of the agricultural sector, fertilizers, seed rice, and the like. You were able to establish that not only 50% of the 2016-2017, not up to 50% of beneficiaries really received the required inputs they wanted. So our quick response as a government was to come up with a policy shift in agriculture where we increase the role of the private sector. What you see now happening